Have you ever wondered why the strongest people speak the least? Some people shout to prove they're right. Others simply stay silent. And somehow, they always win. This is the story of a young man who discovered that silence can be the greatest power of all. Welcome to StoryForge, where stories inspire, minds grow, and lives change. Ryan was 26 years old. He was honest, hardworking, and kind. But there was one problem. He never argued with anyone. At work, his coworkers mocked him. "You're too weak. You never defend yourself." They laughed. Ryan stayed silent. One afternoon, his boss blamed him for a mistake he didn't make. Everyone watched, waiting for Ryan to shout back. But he didn't. He simply looked at his boss, nodded politely, and walked away. The office burst into laughter. He's afraid. He has no courage. That evening, Ryan walked through a quiet park. An old man sitting on a wooden bench called him over. "I saw what happened today." Ryan looked surprised. The old man smiled, then asked, "Tell me, when two people are throwing fire, who gets burned first?" Ryan stayed silent. The old man smiled again. "Exactly. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom." Ryan looked at the old man, unsure what he meant. But those words stayed in his mind all night. The next morning, Ryan returned to work. Nothing had changed. His coworkers laughed. One of them bumped into him on purpose. Coffee spilled across Ryan's shirt. The office erupted in laughter. Ryan looked down, picked up the cup, and quietly walked away. No anger. No argument. No revenge. Later that evening, he returned to the same park. The old man was waiting. Ryan finally asked, "Why should I stay silent when people keep hurting me?" The old man smiled. He picked up a glass of muddy water. Then, he placed it on the table. Without touching it, they both waited. A few minutes later, the mud slowly settled to the bottom. The water became clear. The old man pointed at the glass. "This is your mind. When someone insults you, your emotions become like muddy water. If you react immediately, you'll only make it dirtier. But if you stay calm, everything becomes clear." Ryan looked at the glass. For the first time, he understood. Silence wasn't about accepting disrespect. It was about controlling yourself before controlling the situation. The old man smiled one last time. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The strongest is the one who controls his emotions. Ryan left the park, thinking about those words. He didn't know it yet. But very soon, life was about to test him again. Few days later, Ryan faced his biggest challenge. The company was preparing for an important meeting. Everyone was nervous. Just before the presentation, one of Ryan's coworkers made a serious mistake. Instead of admitting it, he blamed Ryan. The room fell silent. Everyone turned to Ryan. His boss looked angry. "Ryan, do you have anything to say?" Ryan took a deep breath. He remembered the old man's words. Silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. Instead of arguing, he calmly opened his laptop. He showed the emails, the documents, and the timestamps. Without raising his voice, he proved the truth. The room became completely silent. The coworker who had blamed him lowered his head. The boss looked embarrassed. Then he stood up and said, "Ryan, I'm sorry. I judged you before knowing the truth." For the first time, no one laughed. No one mocked him. They respected him. As Ryan left the office that evening, he smiled. He finally understood. You don't need to shout to make people hear you. Sometimes, your actions speak louder than your words. Weeks passed. Ryan's life began to change. The people who once laughed at him now greeted him with respect. Not because he had become louder, but because he had become wiser. One evening, Ryan returned to the same park. The old man was sitting on the bench, watching the sunset. Ryan smiled and said, "You were right. Silence changed my life. The old man smiled gently. Then he asked, "Did silence change your life? Or did it change you?" Ryan stood there, thinking. A few moments later, he smiled. "It changed me." The old man nodded. Then he said, "When you stop fighting every battle, you finally have the strength to win the battles that truly matter." Before leaving, the old man gave Ryan one final piece of advice. Never use silence to hide your fear. Use it to control your anger. Speak when your words can make things better. And stay silent when your words would only make things worse. Ryan never forgot those words. Years later, he became a respected leader. People often asked him, "What's the secret behind your success?" Ryan always smiled and answered with just one sentence. Not every answer needs to be spoken. Because he had learned, the strongest people are not the ones who win every argument. They are the ones who know which arguments are not worth having. Moral: silence is not weakness. Silence is self-control. And sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the strongest of all.